Welcome again to Champions Network TV, where we are continuing unpacking the geopolitical position of Zimbabwe. And as we promised yesterday, we say we are going to have a follow-up. And today, to help me to do the follow-up is Shumba is with me in the house. Today's episode has been sponsored by Mkulima Exports Uganda, which is a company that exports across the globe fresh produce from Uganda. And if you want anything from Uganda, you can contact the company on the contact numbers on the screen, and you can have your nice fruits, nice fresh products from Uganda. So let us get into it. Shumba, over to you.
Maswera sei Misha?
Taswera maswera.
Ya taswera.
Kange kuri sei kumamana.
Kumamana kunge kuri right. Tichingotarisa pama WhatsApp nepana Facebook kuti tione kuti chii chiri kuitika kumusha.
Kana nesuwo tenge tichitarisa pandanyanya kuona kuguta reHarare kwenge kuchirakidza sekuti kwange kusina vanhu vakati wandei, kuna vanhu vauya muguta reHarare, and uye kuchizomboitawo apo nepapo tichiona mapurisa achitandanisana nevanhu. This is one of the mifananidzo yandaona nhasi ichirakidza kuti guta reHarare ringe rakashama.
Rakanyarara. Ndaona futi even Bulawayo ndichinzwa kuti yenge yakanyarara. Ndazomboona hangu a few instances along Rotten Row. But largely, I think people stayed away.
Saka ndofungidza sokuona kwangu tingangoti yaita stay away more stay away than a protest or a revolution.
Yeah, it was more of a stay away. I think people took caution as well, and you can't blame people because sometimes you just get caught in because the situation is quite volatile. You know, you might be at the wrong place at the wrong time.
And nakuona hangu any formal communication here, but from the establishment, but I think Comrade Geza vauya manerano vachipa update pavanga vachitaura kuti vachaita call off mangwana and maybe give a direction kunana Wednesday. So let's get into.
Yeah, I think from my authorities, I saw something on Twitter. Yeah, I think both sides are claiming victory because from the war veteran side, they were saying, like you are saying this evening, Comrade Geza was saying it has been a success. So every side is claiming a victory. And then per Twitter, I've seen my authorities achiti it was not a victory, it was a failure, nothing really to write home about. But ndozvetiri kutaura isusu kuti it's a no win. It's not a win for everyone. It's not a win for Zimbabwe at the end of the day. This is what we touched on yesterday, kuti we're just putting the country on a vulnerable position, really.
Yeah. Maybe to start us off, maybe let's just dive into what are the real issues that are being put forward by Geza, and maybe which are resonating with the people to take heed of what he's saying.
Yeah, I think the issues, though, I think they touch on the everyday life of uh, of our people, and because there's the health care system is collapsed, and the scenes that we see from Parere Nyatwa, from the major hospital Gomo, they are really sad, and you can't blame people because those are the things that by now the basics should be provided, and the systems should look to be robust. We have got so much expertise in that area. We shouldn't be where we are now, but unfortunately, we see time and again seeing things that really doesn't show the country is moving forward. And I think what makes it worse now is seeing some people displaying their wealth uh, in such an environment. We are not saying people should not make money. People can make money, but sometimes it's the way that people are making money and displaying that wealth. How are you acquiring that wealth? Is it accountable? Is it can you justify that kind of wealth when the public system is collapsing? So there are a lot of issues, and then you go into the cities like we touched on yesterday. The city infrastructure is collapsing, and how dirty some of the cities have become. It's just so sad. And then today you could reveal the state of the city. Really, we saw it firsthand. You seeing the potholes, the way the city looks, how dirty it is. So it's all those things coming together that the the people are not happy with, and this has been going on for years now. And I think there was a basic norm that we should have kept it rather than to be where we are today. And always when people raise these issues, there are excuses and denials. And you are seen not to be patriotic because you have raised those issues. I think that's where the biggest problems are. So we've got the healthcare system, we've got the infrastructure, we've got food
Yeah.
security is needed, and then we need sort of to make sure there are jobs for the people. I think that's of paramount importance, really, to address the unemployment in Zimbabwe. So all those are the issues that are coming to the fore. And one thing that people forget is, Africa per se. I think there's an economist who just spoke about this recently. He talks about youth quake. And if you understand what youth quake is because Africa has got the youngest demographics of any continent. The average age in some countries in Africa is 18. That's the average age. And if you go to sociology, like Misha Magaita sociology, you know, Guti, there's a likelihood of a country going into a revolution if it has got a young population. So you've got to, our priority should be to satisfy the needs of this young population that is coming up in Africa. Africa has got the youngest population of any continent today.
Yeah, I think you touched on the infrastructure. Just to recap what you have been saying before we come online, when you were talking about your role in when you were in this fried
Oh yeah,
in Zimbabwe. And
yeah,
and I think to add us, this is a road that leads to that leads to Victoria Falls.
Yeah.
And and this is the state of the road. It's now like almost a park. Of course, people might think, oh, we are using foreigners who took the picture, but I think it brings the point that our roads are not in a state that is that in
No,
a that
not
is
only that, we need to take. This is what I'm saying. The problem is people don't want to take criticism. When things fall apart, really, we need to say things need to be fixed. Those who are responsible, whether it's the Minister of Roads, they need to really come up with solutions to fix these problems. You cannot just keep on kicking the can down the road and think problems will solve themselves. There are certain problems that we can solve today. Like we discussed, I used to work in freight myself when I left Zimbabwe. I was working at Bridge border post, and I used to clear oranges from there was an estate of oranges in Bridge, and when the orange season starts, these oranges will be flying to all over Europe. So the trucks would leave Zimbabwe sometimes during the night to go and catch flights in Joburg at the Joburg airport for those things to be flown. So because they are fresh produce, you need that. There's a term that we use that it's a cold chain. You need to move fast. Otherwise, any hiccup along the way, all that, those goods are perishable. You're gonna lose. So it needs to be on time. So that's why when people cry of infrastructure, it's the support of industries like this. Zimbabwe is an agro economy, and there are a lot of farmers who are into fresh produce. So this road system, that infrastructure support our agro-based industry. And if you have these roads that we see today, the economy will not function. And as a result, you end up with high unemployment rates because some of things like infrastructure have got what we call in economics multiplier effect when it comes to job creation. Because once you sort that infrastructure, there will be other jobs created downstream because things are moving. So this is why we are saying it's very important for the infrastructure to be sorted as soon as possible.
all right. I think yesterday you threw in a very important term, the neutral voice. And we have seen what has happened today. What do you think we still have got a chance for the neutral voice to bring the disputing parties to the table?
Yeah, I think there is still a role for the neutral voice. So we just need probably someone with the courage to stand up and try to bring these people together and say, the way we are going, we might end up in a worse situation than what everyone is thinking. Because from what I read on Twitter from the authorities, they are dug in to say there's no crisis in Zimbabwe. The demonstrations were a failure. The war, that part of the war veterans, they are not, they are terrorists. And now they are labeling them terrorists, which to me is not helpful at all. And then I'm also saying to that part of the war veterans to say, I understand some of the issues that you are putting to the table that are not being raised. So it's a time for us to find that neutral voice that can bring these people together to say, we need to solve, we come up with a solution, a middle of the road solution, so that we can move forward as a nation. Because as it is now, I think where we are is very, very dangerous, or we are treading on uncharted territory, to say.
Yeah, that's true. And I think I think yesterday we were to talk about the New Deal, but I think before we go into that one, I think you were muting some ideas about national service and how it can help the country to go forward. Do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, I was listening to. I think I sent you this clip. I think if we can play it, and then I'll comment the importance of national service, which we should have embarked on in 1980, but this was never done, because my idea was from 1980, when we got independence, it would have been mandatory before anyone goes to university to serve in the military. This would guarantee our sovereignty, and unfortunately that was not done. And when it was done, it was not fully implemented. It was sort of a system of abusing the youth who were joining that service when it was tried. When you really need to do something that attracts youth, so that it's attractive to the youth to join the military. So you see it with Norway. They've got a national service. It's a European country, very rich. They've got a national service, and they make sure it's youth would want to join that national service. You see it with Israel today. They've got a national service, and most kids, they come up with brilliant careers after that national service. Because right now, what a lot of people don't know is Israel leads in some of the, it has got some of the best technologies in artificial intelligence, in robotics, because all these come through the IDF. So we could have a similar scheme in Zimbabwe, whereby the ZDF becomes the engine of that innovation that feeds into our economy.
Maybe they might come around and say they have got education 5.0, which is hindering about having these innovation hubs and all that for advancement in technology.
Who will come and
I don't know if you understand the education 5.0, where they are saying they want to leverage on innovation, and they are building.
Yeah, they are all these. You know, Misha, this is the problem that the problem, we have got so many initiatives, but some of them, they really don't stake up. We have had, like we said yesterday, we have had so many initiatives since 1980, but sometimes to measure the progress, there hasn't been any progress. In fact, we have actually regressed. So we can announce, but as long as we don't do what needs to be done, we're not going anywhere. I'll give you, if you read Lee Kuan Yew, the approach he took to education, they said he used to walk with a red box of his ideas on education. Wherever he went, he had that red box to say, and his emphasis was on teachers' pay. That teachers' pay should be reflective. It's a reflection on how you value your education system. Right now, how much are the public teachers earning? So you can talk of education 5.0, but if you are not incentivizing the teachers to do that job, then to me it's just a soundbite.
Right. Let's listen to the video.
nationalistic organizations, the World Health Organization. He's got BRICS firmly in his sights. He wants to return the world to sovereign, independent nation state. And that is the thing that's probably going to be the hardest of the 5 things to do. Even if you look at Ukraine, in the UK, there's been a huge outcry about the meeting with Zelensky. The Europeans now saying we're going to put £1 trillion into our own defense. And Donald Trump's going, great, it's your business, you sort it out. And so actually, he's already achieved another massive goal in his geopolitical strategy, which was the Europeans pay for their own defense. So we come on to Trump and Africa. The final kind of point I would make is that in terms of spheres of influence, I think Donald Trump sees Africa as an area where he wants to get the Chinese out of Africa. And I think if you look at what he's doing with the Russians, trying to seal a peace with Ukraine and bring the Russians kind of back into the tent rather than outside the tent, I think the threat of Russia is massively overestimated. Its economy is the size of Spain. It's batting way beyond its averages, whereas Trump would see the real enemy as China. And so I think he's thinking we'll settle this issue and then we'll move on to the main event, which is China. And I think he probably sees South Africa and Africa as mineral rich in the same way as Greenland. And I think they're going to definitely turn their attention to kicking the Chinese out of Africa. So I think there's going to be a lot of excitement down the track. I didn't want to go on too long because I've been...
Right. Here we are.
Yeah. So you can, if you listen to what I think where I will start is, if you know who this guy is, you know the weight of what the things that he's talking about. This guy is called, his name is Aaron Banks. He bankrolled the Brexit when the UK left the European Union. So these are people with so much influence in world politics. They are wealthy. They connect with other wealthy people. They sort of strategize to see that the interests of their country are served best in certain ways. So he's there in South Africa talking, and he's close to Donald Trump. So he's saying he actually, I think he's been made aware of some of the aims that Trump has for Africa. And he's saying here, the reason why, and you can see it exactly like he's saying, the reason why the Europeans are protesting is because Trump is saying, if I don't get China and Russia, he wants to separate the two. But Europe wants to continue the war. But Trump has got a long-term plan. His long-term plan is about going after China. And he knows that he cannot go after China when Russia and China are partnered together. So what he wants is a split between them two. And then Russia helps him in his plans against China. So what he will do is, like in Africa, Russia has got extensive network in Africa. So his hope is, once he gets along with Russia, then Russia will be passing the intel of undermining China in Africa, or help him in his quest to kick China out of Africa. So this is where our vulnerability as Zimbabwe now comes in. Which among the African countries, Zimbabwe is where one of the countries that the Chinese have really established themselves. I think we've got the steelworks that the Chinese have recently built. We've got other lithium projects that they are doing in Zimbabwe. They've got all sorts of chrome projects that they are doing. And you can see where it's going. So if we don't sort ourselves, I think this is the worst moment for us to have this sort of fighting amongst ourselves, because what will happen is these great powers will take advantage, and will be eventually involved in a proxy war, which these great powers are just after their interests, to the detriment of all the Zimbabweans.
Yeah, we have got a comment from YouTube. I think Colin Chosa. I think he is referring to when Geza said he's calling off the protest. So he's saying we are back to square one. What meaning can you put into that statement?
No, we're not back to square one. We are just at the beginning of the whole thing, because I don't think it's going away. We can say we are back to square one when people sit at the table and iron out their differences. And I think ironing out Zimbabwe's difference will mean people focusing on the priorities, on what Zimbabwe needs to develop, on what Zimbabwe needs to go forward. So like the things that we have highlighted, the healthcare system needs to be sorted. The infrastructure needs to be sorted. The education needs to be sorted. And then we need food security. And then we need our national security through national service. So unless we agree on those things, I think we are not back to square one. The genie is out of the bottle. So I think we are just at the start. So it can go either way, because sometimes the authorities think, oh, they are tough enough, but you are tough enough until you are not tough enough. I think we saw it in 2017.
Yeah. I hope Colin will explain what he means by we are back to square one. We are just trying to interpret your statement from the platform. You can add some comments in the chat box if you want to explain more, so that it can benefit our audience, it can benefit us as well. Now, I think one of the you touched on education, and I think one of the things that we intended to talk about is about the deregulation, what it made in a lot of red carpets in our system.
Yeah, so you find that we have created this most government departments have created these choke points to our economy. So we have a rent-seeking behavior where there are all sorts of permits that are required. I think there's time to need to sit down and see whether all these things are serving the interests of the country, or they are helping to create a conducive business environment. Because for someone to set up a company or to go into certain fields, the number of permits that are required are quite a lot. So as a result, when you visit some of these offices, people are being sort of, there's that rent-seeking behavior whereby someone wants something for them to facilitate for the things to move faster. So we need to, in order to create that environment where business can thrive, we need to get rid of some of these regulations, streamline the regulations so that the business can thrive. And that also solves unemployment, the unemployment issues that we've got. Like infrastructure I was talking about, this deregulation will also have a multiplier effect on our economy. So those are some of the areas that we need to look into so that we can move forward as a country.
Let's get some of the perspective from Colin. He has put in more comments when he said we are back to square one. I think his first comment is there's no clear end game, and that is he's talking from Gaza's side. Case has made it. Gaza's case has made it, but how is protest going? Is going? We do not have enough data to clearly see where this protest is taking us.
Yeah,
And
I get what he is saying, but nobody knows the future. That was my point, that there was need for negotiation because things can go either way. Because everyone, the authority have got their expectations of how this thing will plan out, and then our Geza and company also have got their expectations of how these things will plan out. But the future, nobody knows. The future belongs to itself. So as a result, like nobody will be, we don't know how it will all plan out. But the danger is there will be confrontation and things will just go downhill from there. Because what's happening is when Comrade Geza and company are raising these issues, I think the authorities should listen, because they are not just raising issues that have not affected Zimbabweans. These issues are ringing sort of to the Zimbabweans to say these are the issues that they are struggling with every day. So they understand the issues that are being raised and they pertain to their everyday lives. So if the authorities want to be just dismissive and take it as a non-matter, I think they are wrong there. Where I sort of, where I see the danger is because Geza and company have gone for the jugular. They want the president to go. I think that's where it's really difficult to see how this thing will play. But I was thinking a neutral voice sitting down with these people and trying to put their heads together and come up with a solution. For me, if you ask me what Zimbabwe needed, Zimbabwe, I don't know whether the current constitution provides for it, but Zimbabwe needed a prime minister. So we have a prime minister who is the head of government. And then I could say ZANU itself takes the role of the presidency. So, and they've got certain ministries they are responsible, which like foreign affairs, military, those goes to the president. But the day-to-day running of the government should be down to the prime minister. I think there's too much power in the president, and there's too much he can't do it all, unfortunately. You can't do all that. You have to delegate. And if you fail in that delegation, then we end up where we are, because it's overwhelming for one person to be responsible for all this.
yeah, and I think Colin is actually following. Then he adds another comment there. All we are seeing across news platforms is speculation. And I think, Colin, this is the reason why we are coming with Champions Network TV, where we are trying to really talk issues, not to speculate. We are not speculating here. We are really uh, di- digesting the issues and trying to make sense out of it. Um, do you want to add anything from his comment that or what is seen on all other news platforms
Yeah,
is
I
speculation?
think we have been seeing the same, really. It has always been speculation, but what we have decided to do is to really go into the matters. We look at where the disgruntlement is coming from. We are not supporting any sides, but we are looking at the matter as it stands to say what's really going on. And if Colin has got some more information he can help us with, we want to avoid that kind of speculation. All we want is for our country to move forward. So for our country to move forward, we need those that we need that data he's talking about, how things are working. We need reality at the moment, because the reality on the ground is people are suffering.
Yeah.
People
And
have got
also,
no jobs. The health system is not working for people. Infrastructure is not working for people. So that's, everyone knows that. So all we are saying is, how can we come up with solutions so that these things are addressed? I don't think Zimbabweans are asking for a lot. I don't think everyone really needs to be involved in politics, really. If you give them uh, things to do, people will be in their jobs, people will be doing their own stuff. As long as things are working, the lights in the libraries are functioning, kids will be concentrating on reading, jobs are there, people, technical colleges are working. We've got everything going on for us. So why would you be so much attached to politics? People sometimes they don't even know who the president is, but as long as the country is working, that's all that matters. It's the basics that matter.
I think even myself, I wasn't very conscious of what the politics when I was going to school. What I just did
Even
is
me.
I read my books and and expect that when I pass, I go to pass my form for I go to A level.
When
After that,
some of us, when we started being politically conscious, is like, I remember when I was coming from school, and you go into town, there are no buses, because we used to get buses from town, from school, and to school. So when we finished school, luckily in the morning we had a school bus that would take us home, that will take us to school. But coming from school now, we had to go into town to get the ordinary buses to go home. And there came a time when I remember I was doing my A levels. You get into town, you maybe around 3. Do you know what time? I remember at one time leaving town around 11 p.m. because there were no buses. You know,
then you become politically aware.
then you start thinking, what's really going on? Because there was a time when, before all that happened, there was a time that if you could, if you are not at the bus stop at such a time, you won't get the bus. You could actually time to say, oh, I'm catching this the bus at such a time to go home. That how Zimbabwe used to function.
Right. There's another comment from one of our farmers in Zimbabwe, and he's saying, is it reasonable to include the whole nation of different parties to interface with the ZANU-PF squabbles? Yes, there are a lot of wrong things, but on this particular issue, I see it as I see it as an internal issue. So what he's saying, he feels this is an in-house issue. They should sort it themselves. What's your take
No,
on it?
it's not an in-house issue, unfortunately, because if it was an in-house issue and remained in-house, then that's fine. But now where we are now, it can, like I said, it can go either way. So we might end up it's already affecting people's lives, because today was a stay away. It's no longer in-house when you get to such a stage. So we need to be realistic and say things have changed. We are in a new phase altogether, and things can go either way. We have seen other nations where things have gone. I don't expect our country to go down that route, but all I'm begging is for our leaders to be responsible, because things can go out of hand very, very, very quickly if they are not careful.
Let me just invite Colin. Colin, I think if you want to come on our platform on our next session, there is the number on the screen. Just reach out, and we can have a discussion and how we can include you in the discussion. Here is another comment from Colin. We speculated on who is behind Geza, but from the looks of things, he seems to be alone in this, and without other stakeholders like the military involvement. The just wait and see. What's your take on this?
I think we just wait and see. But he's raising issues that needs to be addressed. I don't think there would be energy behind what he's saying if people were not disgruntled by things that are happening. So, in a way, like we said on this channel, we are not supporting either side. All we are saying is they need to come together as Zimbabweans and work for the best of the country. And if they let their egos uh, override the national interest, then we will end up in a much darker place. So that's all we are saying. But whether who is behind Geza, who speculated, like we said, there are a lot of speculations. Even if you read on Twitter, on Facebook, sometimes you really don't know what. But me, having experienced what the war veterans, I give them so much respect, because this is not the first time that I've seen them do this. I remember during Mugabe, at one time they climbed on the stage whilst Mugabe was addressing at National Sports Stadium, and they started singing Ucharo Wanua Komana. So these are not people that I underestimate. And at one time they were going to State House during Mugabe, and they were tear gassed on their way to the State House. So you don't underestimate the power of these people. They are on the same set of their lives, but they've seen every action you can talk about. So you underestimate them to your peril. Yeah. So I don't want to speculate, to be honest, because I don't know the power, but they can stand for themselves. That's one thing that I would want to say. These guys, I've known them, I've seen them in action. They can stand for themselves because they are not afraid of anything. Sometimes you say, what was the life expectancy of them being when they were in Mozambique fighting? Do you know the life expectancy then?
Yeah. And we don't underestimate kana Mdarageza vachitaura kuti tinokupfekedza saga.
No. These are serious guys. They've seen action, and you underestimate it. But what we don't want is to speculate. I don't know who is, but to say they've got no power, I think you'll be mistaken.
And I think he put another comment. He says he agrees with us. There is a country that we all aspire, but there are forces that has made everything impossible for everyone, and there are current people in power. The only solution to correct it was to bring a change to the current leadership. Our only hope was Geza, but after 31 March, well,
I think
what's next?
he's also speculating after that is what we are saying, that he's also saying, oh, there's a lot of speculation, but he's coming up with speculation as well. Saka inini maonero angu ndeyekuti I think petiri pakaoma. Yeah, petiri pakaoma. I think if cooler heads don't prevail, we're going into very difficult times, because right now I think paranoia will reign. People won't sleep. Kuvhunduka chati kwatara. Kuvhunduka chati kwatara. So that comes with the territory. Because ukaudzwa namudharageza kuti tichakupfekedza sata. Ukangodzwa kanoku kakana ibhinarisaurwa wako panext door. Ukangodzwa noku.
Yeah.
Wakutoti ndiani.
Tukuseka heduka, but these are serious matters.
Aiwa. No, these are serious matters, but
yeah, this is very serious matters.
Aiwa, vanhu vari kutamba nechinhu chisingatambwe nacho. Waona, ndo problem yatanayo, kuti ava wacho vari mupawa vari kufunga kuti no, it's gonna be life as usual. I doubt it. I think we have crossed the Rubicon now.
Yeah, no.
We've crossed the Rubicon. Chifunga waya wakabviswa nguva yaMugabe. Vari kutotadza kurara, vakutanga kuita my PTSD maji.
Yeah, I see what happened.
Zvadzoka.
Yeah. So I think we have discussed quite a lot. I think tomorrow as well we can catch up. Would that be okay with you?
Yeah, tomorrow, that's fine with me.
As I said to Colin, you can reach me on that number if you feel you want to be part of the panel. Yeah. Colin has said now we wait for Wednesday. Yeah, we wait for Wednesday, Colin. But tomorrow I think we can gather and we can brainstorm. But I think my desire is if we can find a way of how do we create the neutral voice that can bring the warring parties together. Well, we invite even the authorities, if they come to come on our channel and talk, we are free. We give them space, and even the war veterans, if they feel they can come and give their views, we give them space. This is a neutral ground. Is there anything we want to, the final word you want to give to the audience, to the authorities, and to the war veterans?
Yeah, I think our message just remains the same. We need to talk to each other, because I think the country is anxious. It needs reassurance of what's going to happen. It's no use trying to hold on to our entrenched positions where mistakes have been done. I think the authorities say, we underestimated the disgruntlement of the citizens. We need to address. I always say all these ministers should be performance measured, They should really deliver. And there's no excuse for some of the things that we see. We need, it's not like people just turn up for elections and then they disappear. The MPs are not doing anything, to be honest. All we hear in parliament is people saying, oh, they want 2 cars, they want this. But they forget, what are you in parliament for? What change are you bringing? So we need all that. And I think going forward, we need sort of an exam for the whole civil service and MPs and whoever wants to hold a civil service job or these kind of offices. Because I think part of our problem is we are electing people into office with no criteria at all. So someone comes into office just because he was popular in his home area or he paid a lot of people in that area, but they haven't got a clue what the national interests are. So as a result, when they go even into parliament, they won't say anything because they don't know nothing. So those are the things that we need to do going forward so that we enlighten our people. And then another thing that I think is of importance to the citizens as well, I think it's a high time we also encourage the spirit of volunteering. I think some of the things that we blame the government, I think we as citizens, we need to start volunteering. I think we'll take one day we talk about volunteering. Because we see in most developed countries, people volunteer in hospitals, people volunteer in a lot of places. So that spirit of volunteering should be encouraged so that instead of saying the hospitals are dirty, the streets are dirty, or kids are being run over by cars when going to school, the community volunteerism should be encouraged so that we can actually start to find solutions to some of these problems without waiting for the government. So I think I will end it there for tonight.
Maita basa shumba marwa mumire hanzi muri shumba akarara kuseri kwemachize lion match.
Yeah.
Makuma nhasi shumba.
No, thanks so much.
Yeah, and I think viewers we have heard, and we shall continue to explore things. And as we said, if you have got something to offer, our numbers are on the screen. Reach out.
And the other thing, chendenichataura makatisati taenda ndechekuti, you know, isusu on this channel hatisi kuda to talk, because one thing that has killed our country is political toxicity. So we want to move away from that. My entrenched positions ekuti we-opposition wanenge wachiti tikataura panapa tichitaura about opposition tobva tanzi tiri wezanu, ukataurawo zvinhu against zanu wobva wanzi uri we-opposition. No. We are aimed at solving Zimbabwe's issues. Panapa kana tichidiscussa wese wanouya kuzotijoina, we want to be neutral, solve Zimbabwe's issues. We don't want this political toxicity to take over our discussions. We want to focus on development and solving our people's problems.
Yeah, no, and this we put Zimbabwe first.
Exactly.
And if you belong to any church, you belong to any political, that is secondary. So, and those sentiments should not be filtered through as entrenched position on this platform. Let's see. I think calling it the final word from him is it everything is zero down to ubuntu. Wagona mdara hunu sisi kwedu kwamuri watoti hunu.
Aiwa, ipapo ndope ndisingabvumirani napo. Handibvumirani napo. You know why ndisingabvumirani nestatement iyoyi? Inhawu yekuti when you elect people everywhere in the world, munhu, chinhu chinonzi munhu, we are liable to be corrupt. Nhasi mukandisa muofisi mimi pasina ma-safeguards, right? Ekumeka sure kuti handifanirwi kuita zvinhu zvisingafanirwi kuitwa. Munopatikawo ndakungoitawo zviri kuita wamwe, handiti? Ndosaka taitaura nezuro paya the importance of building institutions. Maka munoziva tagara kune dzimwe nyika dzine ma-institutions. What is an institution? It holds people to account. Ndosaka isu tichikura ndofunga mhaka makaiwerenga nyaya idzi Zuza akaba chingwa chiwarungu. Zuze akaba chingwa chiwarungu. Ndichachiba. Hanzi Zuze chii chakaita kuti Zuze hanzi akazoenda kanorowa tsamba kuseri kwegwenzi ka. Ndiandimhangarira. Why? It's because you've got traces of accountability, handiti? So whenever you have institutions, they hold people to account. It's not about morals. It's not about our Ubuntu. Yes, our Ubuntu and morals matter, but in terms of statecraft and running the government, even our kings, Maka, they used to have systems of accountability in place. Jindara Mambo, it is office of Jindara Mambo, akafano replaced, but aiziwa ma functions office yake, and it. So those are the things that we need to say. Atifano kuti ningi ndiye muhombe ndiye anoziva zviri kuitika. O President Chamisa, o President Mnangagwa, o President Geza. No. They should be held to account. We build institutions to hold people to account, not for us to give all our blank checks to an individual. People should be held to account. Ndosaka tichita ma-constitutions. Ma-constitutions should hold people to account. So that's my opinion on the matter. I think we over-rely on the morality of people. But statecraft doesn't require us to rely on the morality of the people. It requires us to put systems in place. Ndosaka uchiti ukaenda pabasa iwewe unotanga ubvunzwa zita nenhamba dzechitupa. Why are they doing that? It's because it's a system of accountability, of tracing kuti nhasi ukazopa pabasa ukapa pabasa wapa chitupa wanobva waenda kumapurisa munhu uyu atibira chitupa chake ichi and then wapikwa. So those are the things that we are talking about, kuti systems of accountability, they regulate that human behavior, because we have got that we are capable of that immorality, but these systems, they keep us in check.
Yeah, I think as I said, Colin, we will invite you tomorrow. We are almost going past our allocation for this time. But thank you for your contribution, and we will continue to engage with you. And I hope you reach out for you to be part of the panelist next time. Thank you very much, everybody. Shumba Tokutendai.
Zvakanaka.
Tinovimba mangwana munenge muripo.
Tosangana mangwana.
All right, thanks.
Okay.